Have you gone deep on the Twitter files and looked into some of the things surrounding the FBI and the CIA, or some of the other repressions or shadow banning? Have you gone into that?
I haven't, in that the most that I've done is when they would release, whichever journalist was handling a particular, instantiation of the Twitter files, when they would release their, like, a long thread, right? A 30 piece or 30 tweet thread. I would just read those, but I haven't gone into a deep dive into the files. Are you asking because you have, and there's something that you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, well, so I've kept an eye on it. I'll just tell you quickly our story, and I want to get your thoughts
Sure.
on maybe what happened with us. So, Doctor, I started this show in 2011. I was inspired by Joe Rogan. I was an early fan of the UFC and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I was watching his show even 13, 14 years ago when it was just on Vimeo, wasn't even on YouTube. So I was a fan, and I got jaded with the banking industry, and I just decided I was going to start my own version. And we were having long-form conversations, unedited, unscripted. And I did this for 9 years. Got up to 2 million subscribers on YouTube, 500 million views, published about 10,000 videos on the YouTube platform. I was a partner. I'd gone down to the headquarters, obviously getting paid ad revenue. And on April 6th of 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, I had a guest on my show that was asking questions about masks, about PCR tests, about if we were doing the right things. It was the second largest YouTube live stream in the world that day. 65,000 concurrent viewers. The largest was President Trump's coronavirus briefing at the White House that night. So he just beat us out just by about 20,000 live viewers. And based on a previous episode I'd had with this guest, it had been watched about 10 million times. The live stream was 4x, so we extrapolated this would have been watched 40 million times, this video podcast, which,
Wow.
which at the time would have been the most watched podcast in history, because Elon smoking weed on Rogan was about 25, 30 million. So this thing was gonna go to Pluto. And it was an amazing conversation. Again, it's me and a 67-year-old man having a calm conversation like this. We didn't incite violence. We didn't incite political overthrow. We were asking questions when, funny enough, nobody else was. 30 minutes later, Doctor, YouTube deleted and banned that video. And it was the first time that ever happened to me in 9 years. I thought the weirdos got censored, not me. And it started off this massive fight I had with YouTube and all the other technology platforms about what I could publish. And I was right on the cutting edge of it. And we're about to release a documentary film about everything that happened. But just to finish the story, I ended up getting 2 strikes, almost had my entire channel deleted and disappeared, which, by the way, was also 9 years of my life. It was my digital identity that was being taken away. I got removed from Dropbox, which is interesting because I didn't know they would watch my content, but they took my account out. PayPal suspended my account with over $100,000 in there. Obviously shadow banned by Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn dropped me, like I said. A bunch of other things systematically blocked me. And when I said, who's looking out for my right for freedom of speech, and I looked at the governments, they all pointed the finger, and I know you talk about this in your book, and they said, no, that's a private company, and you ticked the box on their private policy, so you got to go talk to them. And I was like, well, when you lock us in our houses, this feels like a public utility. And there was actually some precedent here in the UK. When a company acts as a public utility, it might have to follow the law of the land. But when I finally looked at the Twitter files and I saw that the FBI and the CIA were going into Twitter and suppressing the right to free speech, I thought, wow, here I am asking my government to protect me. They point the finger at the private sector, and then meanwhile, they go in the back door and violate my rights by telling the private sector what to do. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I leave that to my guests. But it also possibly makes sense, and I'm waiting for the YouTube files, for a reason why I might have been systematically deplatformed across a lot of different technology companies at once, if it was something like an FBI, CIA, Senate subcommittee. So that's what happened to me. Final point, wow. We ended up creating our own platform, and we pulled off on May 3rd of 2020, the largest live stream of a human conversation on our own platform. And I'll be honest, it was kind of a big fuck you to the tech platforms to show them that we could do it ourselves. And so that's how it kind of ended, didn't really end. So that's what happened to me. What are your thoughts on that, Doctor?
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I'm really sorry it happened to you, but I wish I could say I'm surprised. But to me, it's like you just described every Tuesday of anyone who says anything that those our overlords don't agree with. Now, again, I've never been kicked off in the way you were and the strikes and so on. But first of all, let me just say this: the story that you just said, had you told that story at USC when I was there, I can assure you that you wouldn't have had one empathetic or sympathetic ear. To the contrary, they would be, well, they should have gotten rid of you even earlier. It's amazing that they let you stay there. And again, they would have said so precisely using a consequentialist ethic, which is, it doesn't matter whether what you and that gentleman were discussing could potentially be true. As far as they're concerned, it was too dangerous given public policy measures for you to be holding such conversations. So, I mean, the Nazis used the consequentialist ethic for why they need to get rid of, those vermin Jews, right? So the idea of using consequentialism to support your otherwise, quote, noble cause is an indelible part of the human spirit. So it doesn't surprise me. Now, in my case, I think the gentleman you were talking to was about COVID, correct?
Correct.
So let me tell you, and I mentioned this, by the way, at USC. And I don't know if this was the gentleman that you talked to, but do you know who Matt Ridley is?
I just had him on my show, actually, about 3-4 weeks ago.
Okay, well, so Matt and I know each other well. He's been on my show, I think, twice. He actually provided a blurb for The Parasitic Mind. Just a lovely chap, trained in evolutionary biology and so on and so forth. House of Lords, so certainly not a quack guy. His team reached out to me when his last book came out, where he was discussing the possibility that it's the lab leak theory and so on. And at the time, and I said, I'm ashamed that I'm admitting this. And I said this at USC. At the time that they reached out to me, I told his folks, I can't remember who it was, the publicist or the publisher or whatever. I said, look, I'm perfect. I mean, I'm the ultimate honey badger, right? I mean, I get a million death threats from people that are a lot scarier than, the mask orgy folks. But let's be pragmatic. If we hold the chat, here's what's going to happen. It's going to be removed 14 seconds after we post it. And in the best case scenario, I get a strike against my channel. In the worst case scenario, I'm taken off. And just like you said 9 years. I started in 2014. I'm going to lose all the years of effort that I've built to build this inventory of content. And so I said, look, it seems like reckless martyrdom to just do it. So it's not that I'm afraid to hold difficult conversations, because I've taken positions that are astoundingly more, quote, dangerous than discussing the lab leak theory. But pragmatically, I know it's not going to lead us anywhere. Now, that you can't imagine how much that kept me up at night, because what was happening is, in my pragmatic understanding of how the overlords control us, I was acquiescing to the fact, you know what, let's not have the chat. It's not going to lead anywhere. And I felt dirty. I felt disgusted. I felt cowardly, even though I was being too harsh on myself, because as Aristotle explained to us, being a cowardly soldier is bad, but being a reckless martyr of a soldier is also bad. There is the golden mean. And so I was kind of beating myself, because I was saying, well, why am I being pragmatic in my calculation? But the reality is, I know what would have happened, the exact same thing that happened to you. Now, is this the kind of world we want to live in, where someone like me or someone like you decides, should I even have this conversation? By the way, that's the biggest danger is, and I discussed this in The Parasitic Mind, it's the calculus of self-censorship. Yeah. That's the most dangerous part. It's not the fact that there's going to be 6'4" guys knocking at my door. It's the fact that in the internal privacy of my mind, I am calculating as a student, should I say something in class or will I be penalized? Should I host Matt Ridley or will my YouTube channel? That's how freedom dies bit by bit. And so I'm truly sorry for what you went through, but I'm glad that you've come back bigger and stronger than ever before.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, It's going to be bloody. It's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. The greedy bankers are about to do it again. In 2008, they crashed our financial system and nearly bankrupted the entire global economy. Then they received trillions of dollars in government bailouts. And after, they demanded fat bonuses paid for by you, the taxpayer.
It turns out the banks haven't just been screwing the American taxpayers, they're also screwing over their investors. Turns out the banking industry is the worst place you could put your money, despite enormous taxpayer bailouts.
Now the bankers are back to take away your financial freedom. They lie and tell you that cryptocurrency isn't safe. They try to make it illegal for you to choose how to invest your hard-earned money. They lie and say cryptocurrency is used by money launderers and criminals. But look at the record. It's the banks themselves that launder hundreds of billions of dollars every year to the biggest criminal operations in the world.
Leaked documents have revealed how some UK banks have helped criminals, money launderers and Russians under sanctions.
American authorities discovered that the Sinaloa cartel moved $881 million through HSBC accounts as bank officials turned a blind eye to the illegality.
The bankers lie and say cryptocurrency is not a real investment. Meanwhile, the smartest CEOs in the world are buying billions and billions of it. The truth is that banks lie about cryptocurrency because it makes them scared. The banks take $9 trillion per year of your hard-earned money, and they are worried that they will finally be exposed. They're scared because crypto means they can no longer control your money, which means they can no longer control you. They are scared because you might actually understand your money and intelligently decide what to do with it. Now is the time for us to come together, fight back, and take control. It's time to educate ourselves, our families, and our communities. Because financial education means financial freedom. We know that cryptocurrencies will help us build the new decentralized financial system of the future. A banking system that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. A banking system where access to finance is a fundamental human right. A banking system that is free and fair and welcomes all humans on this earth. The DeFi revolution is happening. We, the people, can no longer be fooled. We choose to take control of our finances. We choose to take control of our freedom. We choose to take control of our future. Join us, and let's take back our financial freedom forever.